poignant topic.
Recording has started.
I believe that working on your business versus in your business is a very poignant topic for Monetize Mondays because one, it's a lot of questions. People saying, I'm trying to work on my business. And yet there's all these other things that are coming up in their lives that get in the way. And I want you to think about this. You know, most people who you see that are supposedly an overnight success, the gurus out there, people who are millionaires and multimillionaires, it's almost like people say, oh my gosh, they got a great idea. And all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, they went from zero to a $100,000 a month business. And I think that so many times people forget that people may have spent the past 10, 15, 20, 30 years planting the seeds. Now, it's not just planting the seeds for that specific business venture, because when you look at building a forest, you know, it's not just planting all the trees and then hoping that they're going to boom and grow up overnight. It's literally, it's planting the seed, watering it, nurturing it. And I remember years ago, it's probably close to 25, 30 years ago for me, when I saw Tony Robbins for the first time. And then I read Think and Grow Rich, and this is The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. And it really talked about this concept of doing something every single day to move yourself forward. And I looked at it almost like people say, well, you're doing all these things, you're reading all these books. And I'm looking back, 20, 25 years, and people say, what is it doing for you? You're going to all these seminars and workshops. What's it doing for you? Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm working on my business. They're like, how are you working on your business? I said, I'm planting and nurturing a lot of seeds. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, Henry, because you see this all the time when we're on with a strategy session with someone today, and they say, oh my gosh, your mind just all of a sudden connects the dots. I tell you my concept and you know how to monetize it. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? That's 30 years of nurturing. It's 30 years of working on the craft. And one of the things that, especially in this day and age, when people say, well, I just need to throw a funnel up and my funnel is going to generate 100,000, then 200, then 500,000, then $1 million. And the first question is, well, what work do you have behind it to make sure that you have that message to market match? What, that you're going to be adding the value to the person, the product, the service, the concept, idea, in order to get them there. So I think this is a great topic. Henry, what do you think?
Dave, here's the biggest thing is it's like you said, I agree with you in regards to investing in yourself and investing in your business with books and training and understanding and all of that. But when do you draw the line in the sand, put all that shit down and say, okay, now I got to do this?
Well, those are all great things. Working on your business, that is taking the time, but you need to take distinct actions every day as well, or nothing's ever going to happen.
And that's the biggest thing that I see.
A dream without action is a hallucination.
It really is. I mean, let me give you a quick example. And some of you guys that were part of this experience last week was a lot of fun for me, and it provided a lot of value to my audience. So Sunday night, when I was right before I went to bed, it was like midnight. I couldn't sleep. I was like doing some reading before I went to bed. And I had this idea because I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, dude, you really know your stuff about Instagram. Have you ever considered putting a course together or something that, showcases what it is that you know? Like you're building this new personal brand and you're building this new personal page, and it's growing fast. He was like, dude, within a week, you got 1,000 followers. And how you doing all of that? So that night I said, you know what? Tomorrow morning, I'm waking up. I'm going to create a little mini funnel on Tuesday, and then I'm going to put it out there. And on Tuesday, I'm going to do this class. And whoever shows up, they're going to get tremendous amount of value. I'm not going to pitch crap at the end and, do this whole fancy schmancy thing. I'm going to say, that's all I'm going to do. It's $100, an hour of my time. Let's go. 10 people showed up for that web class. And within at 24 hours, I was able to generate $1,000 in revenue. What did that do? I put the results inside of my Passionpreneur Inner Circle group. And what did that do? It triggered everybody in that group, specifically one person, Dom Fawcett, who said, Henry, I'm in your BOD program. I love what you did. You put the spark under my ass. Let's do that for me next week. Bam. And now we're doing it. So like, that's what I'm talking about execution.
Dom is someone that you and I spoke to back in August, September, and it was a lot of dreaming, a lot of talking, and all of a sudden we said, tell your story. But I haven't told anyone except you guys. I really don't talk about my real story. We said, if you tell your real story and start talking every single day, you'd grow your business. And obviously, look what's happened to him now. I mean, I saw an Instagram post. I didn't even realize this post that he put out over the weekend where, what it was about the electricity on a prepaid card. I mean,
I love it. I mean,
it's action every single day. It's taking a little bit of action
every day. And that's kind of the power. But let's get back to the real pain point here, Dave, for a second. I could think back to when I was first starting Unique Designz, and the biggest pain point that I experienced was I was so entrenched in my business. I didn't have time to get myself out there. I didn't have time to market or tell my story, if you will. I couldn't. I was doing everything. So like, I would love to get your take on this, because I mean, you've been in the game longer than me. What is it? How does someone break through that? I mean, I finally said to myself, I can't do this anymore. I feel like a prisoner. So I eventually said, all right, enough's enough. Let me take some of the monies that I made recently and invest it back into my team or into growing a team. And that's exactly what I did. I invested in people to help me kind of get out of my own way and sort of replace myself in certain areas. But like, how did you do it?
Well, there's two things that you just mentioned. I just wrote a note here. And I'm going to reframe what you said. Okay, I'm going to say you thought that you couldn't do it. Based upon, see, every time, one of my mentors, probably 20 years ago, told me something, because I was in a place at a point in time. Sorry, I'm gonna unplug my phone. I was in a place at that time that I was taking on a lot of responsibility and had a lot of things to get done, and I didn't think I could do it. In fact, I had no idea how I could do it. And one of the things he told me, his name's Mark Graff. Mark, if you're watching this, Mark told me it's in these points of times when we start taking on and taking actions and doing things that we just don't think that we can take on, that really stresses us out, that creates growth. Because the next time, think about this. After you went through that, Henry, and now all of a sudden, do you think differently when all of a sudden all this comes on, right? You know that you can do it. You know that you can take that action. So, and there's a scientific process for this. It's called perturbation. And it's sort of like the idea of a coal can become a diamond, and it's through controlled pressure. But if you don't put controlled and consistent pressure on a diamond, on coal, what happens? It remains coal. So the same thing happens with us in our business. When we have that consistent pressure to grow and to do things consistently, we expand, and then we expand again. And then all of a sudden you expanded to the point where you said, you know what? To work on my business doesn't mean that I have to do everything. I can make an investment. I can hire someone else who can see something different than me. You invested in coaching. You invested in consulting. You invested in a team member in order to be able to take an action for you. That is working on your business as well. Doesn't mean that everything you have to do yourself. Working your business could be delegating it to the right people in order to get the tasks done. Right. So does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. And it all goes back to, one of the, what I'm starting to realize is what people are actually remembering me as And I've had quite a few people, including Russell Brunson himself, mention, when I think of you, Henry, I think of that concept you talked about in our mastermind meeting that one time, and it's staying in your lane. And I had another client mention it to me on Friday too. He's like, ever since you told me that I need to start staying in my lane more, it's never left my mind. And that is sort of what I preach, to all of my clients when it comes to the branding side of things and the marketing side of things. It's, you cannot do it all on your own. You cannot. And as frustrating as you may feel it to build a team out and to have to rely on another set of hands, it's the only way to break through that glass ceiling. And so I'll give you an example. Listen, I'm a human being that owns a business, that has a team. And guess what? I'm relying on people on my team to come through and get the job done, right? But that I can't be pounding on their back every 5 minutes going, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Because all the time and energy I'm wasting on that, I could be serving something else. And so one of the biggest things that I've seen, and clients have said to me in the past is, well, I'm afraid to hire somebody or bring on a new team member because they're not going to have the same passion as I do for my business. Guess what?
You're thinking small.
Yes. And I say to myself, that's in your head. That's not in theirs. If you give them a reason to believe and the reason to give it their all, like, they're working for you. Like,
I think they're working for themselves and their satisfaction. I mean, that's thinking small. If people want to do the best, I personally feel that you have to have the belief that if you're attracting people on your team, you're going to attract whatever's going on in your head. So if you think that people aren't going to give their all, you're going to attract people that aren't going to give their all. If you feel that people are going to value everything that they're doing and they're going to understand that there's the people that they're serving and putting their best forward, you're going to attract people that are going to work in that manner. So, how you show up, it's funny. The way we see other people showing up is many times how we're showing up. So if someone is thinking that, I want to ask them to ask themselves the question, how have you not given your all for someone else in the past, which creates that feeling that other people won't show up for you? Because it's just a self-perception. You're looking in the mirror when you put these projections out there.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I want to actually touch upon this. And again, staying in lane and staying on topic. Russell's new book, Expert Secrets. I was able to get my hand on it a couple of weeks ago. Read it twice already. And he talks about how people have these belief patterns in their head, right? And those belief patterns are created by past experiences. It is what it is, right? But take us, and I've been trying to do this recently, and it's been working. It's take that for a second and just come outside of your body for a second and ask yourself, is that belief actually true? Like, is that factual? Is it, yes, because of X, Y happened, but is it set in stone? Is it the end all be all? Is it, if we did it differently tomorrow, would we still get the same result, right? Those beliefs aren't necessarily true today. And that's such a powerful thing. Like, I thought about that for a second and I was like, I've thought about numerous things in my life.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I always thought asking questions was a bad thing. Why? Because every time I asked my father as a young kid growing up a question, he would turn, and if he didn't want to answer the question, he'd look at me and say, "What are you writing, a book?" And that was the end of the conversation. And I always thought asking questions was a bad thing. Now in my entrepreneurial career, if you're not asking questions, you're not growing. If you're not asking questions, you're not getting to know your audience. If you're not asking questions, you're not building your brand. So that whole belief I had in my head about asking questions is a bad thing has plagued me a long time. And it's not true.
Well, it's here funny because we were, as you all know, or as you know, at least, Henry, I was off for about a week, spending time with my great grandmother. Although I don't know how much she realizes that I was there, although she had times of consciousness, like a second at a time or 10 seconds at a time. But we were in the room talking about, childhood and memories. And one of the things I actually, how I've told you that I've written a book, but I haven't published it yet, right?
Right.
Well, my mom didn't even know about that. I printed it out and I brought it to hospice with me. And I was holding my great grandmother's hand, my grandmother's hand, my kid's great grandmother, and I was reading her the book. And my mom was in the room. And my mom kept like smiling from ear to ear the whole time. I was putting myself to sleep reading my book, and my grandmother, I think, calmed her down a lot too. But I know I'm just joking here. Here's the interesting thing: the premise of the book was like the questions that you need to ask, and every chapter had, and the character's name was CJ, as in Curious George, because guess what they used to call me when I was a kid? Curious George, my favorite book, because my mom says, "Oh my gosh, this is so true." She's like, "When you were a kid, you used to say, why? Tell me why that?" And I would just keep. I mean, it was like interesting. I was fostered to do that. I mean, it wasn't, stop asking questions. Nowadays, I still to this day, what do, Henry? I could do a whole talk. A lot of my doctors I teach, they joke about it. In fact, I remember one of my birthday dinners, I was out with like 30 of my clients, and it was sort of like they all went around the room sort of saying something about me. And how many of you know David Sarno? How many, it was literally questions. And so we were all fostered differently. And by the way, you ask very good questions these days because you come comfortable with it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I feel like I've come a long way, but, not to get off tangent, just doubling back on today's topic of, effectively working on your business. It's, again, tying this all back, understanding what you believe right now isn't necessarily the truth per se, right? And the things that are holding you back could be fixed with literally a flick of a switch. Tony Robbins talks about that a lot. And, 2 millimeters, just changing something 2 millimeters can have a massive impact on your business growth, your personal growth, and all of that. And so I want to challenge everybody today to think about that feeling that they have of maybe feeling like that prisoner inside of their business, like their hands are tied and they can only go this far or else something bad is going to happen. Something uncomfortable is going to happen. Let me tell you something. If you don't stretch yourself and make yourself get out of that little bit of that comfort zone, you're never going to grow. And Jim Rohn said it a long time ago, and it's kind of hitting me now as I'm getting older. If you're not growing, you're dying. There's no in between. There's really no in between. And it's the truth.
One of my good friends I've known for 25 years, Jim Bunch, talks a lot about, how we create our environment and then the actions that we need to take. And one thing he does a lot of challenges. In fact, he's the person who pioneered challenges, and he's gamified everything. And he says this, I want you to think about this. Could everyone spend a few minutes a day just working on 3 different areas of your life? Your finances, which is your business. Okay, just taking one action every day. Okay, and then doing one thing for your health. I don't care if that's walking to the end of the driveway and back again, doing something for your health, and then focusing in on something that makes you happy. Because really, what is life all about? And so if you work on those 3 different environments and you do that, think about this. For the next 30 days, if all you do is take one action, which is working on your business, working on your life, working on your health. If you that's 3 things a day. At the end of 30 days, you've taken 90 distinct action items. Okay? Now, you multiply that by 2. If you do that for 60 days, that's 180.
Yeah.
In 90 days, you've done 270 distinct action items to move your happiness, your health, and your wealth forward. If you actually did that, do you think your life would be different 90 days from now?
Yeah.
I guarantee it would.
Yeah. It's those baby steps. Honestly, it's taking one little step at a time and taking massive action on those steps. I mean, I'm sounding very cliche here for those that are following the same mentors that I'm following, but the point is these people are really rubbing off on me. And had I not surrounded myself with these people and got into their world and in their knowledge and their wisdom, I would not be doing this today. I wouldn't be spending 30 minutes on a Facebook Live BSing with you for our audience to gain value in what it is our conversations are being spoken about. So like that's the biggest thing is like I know people that are mortified of the video or mortified of putting themselves out there, but maybe you just do like you said, maybe you do one video a day and it's not live. Maybe you just record it, right? And then you do that for a week, and then you get up enough chops, and then the next week you finally do your first live, right? And then next thing you know, you do those for a week straight. Next thing you know, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the pike, and like you're rocking out Facebook Lives that are getting more engagement than the people that have been doing it for like 3 months. And now you become this natural of Facebook Live video. Like, listen, we all have to start somewhere, but I encourage you to freaking start. Like, that's the biggest thing is just taking that first step. Dave, you said it. Just do one little thing a day, and the amount of change that you'll see. Like I've been starting that with Tori and I have been doing that every day now for about a week and a half, where after dinner we go into the living room, she reads her book on parenting, and I listen to my podcast, or I read my blog, or I read my book on parenting.
Yeah.
And we do that for 30 minutes to an hour every day. And by the time this baby comes in August, you know, again, parenting is a whole nother world, but at least we will be better prepared then than we are now. And that's the name of the game. So, Dave, I think this was a great live. I think we shined upon a lot of different pain points and different struggles that I hope our audience resonated with and could feel. And any last words? Because we're just we got about 5 minutes, but any last words?
Take an action. One thing. Pick one thing. In fact, heck, I recommend. I mean, work on one thing in your business, work on one thing for your health. I don't know, maybe it's taking a supplement, you know, taking a vitamin or doing something for your health, going for a walk, you know, do something that makes you happy. Read a book 5 minutes a day. Read a chapter out of a book 5 minutes a day. Little things like that. I guarantee that if you do this for the next 7 days, you'll start seeing progress. That is working on yourself. That's working on your business. It's what we started this call for today, or this live for today, is literally changing your life one step at a time, one day at a time. It is planting the seeds and taking action all at the same time, and it is compounding.
Yeah, and I'll leave an action item on the table today as well, and it's challenge your beliefs today. Think about what's been holding you back and ask yourself, is that true? Is what I believe true? And I'll leave you with that, guys. So have an awesome Monday. Have an awesome rest of the week. Thank you, Dave, again for just being awesome and sharing your insight and wisdom and knowledge and experience. And we'll catch you next week on Monetize Mondays.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, everyone, for being here.